Politics is such a funny game. It's like you start to understand things the more that you look at them, and especially if you really care about them, if it's something that's important to you. And the more that I look at politics and how it keeps playing out over time, the more I realize that people are so afraid of losing the battle and they're not focused on winning the war. And when you look at what happened with all of the smaller legislative races and elections that happened on Tuesday, it seems to me like the social issues are ultimately what will be the downfall of conservatism and ultimately America. And if the political right can't understand that this stuff is extremely important, and you don't have to agree with people to understand that it's important to get 5 out of the 10 things that you want instead of 0 out of the 10 things that you want, we're always going to lose. It's like you don't have to be okay with something hyperbolic like abortion to understand that you may need to pull back so you can get 5 other things that you know we need. Like as a young man versus now, my stance and view and understanding of abortion has changed dramatically. But for the vast majority of people, especially people that don't pay attention or aren't as tuned in or haven't taken the time to do the hard research to understand what it really is and the effect that it has on people, et cetera, all of the positive stories and all of the negative stories, it's like they're not reaching and marketing and communicating to the people like Gen Z, which is this huge voter base, that these types of things matter a lot to them. And the marketing is so bad on the conservative right that they just don't understand how to reach these people. So as a result, instead of you getting fiscal responsibility, no intervention in foreign wars, a balanced budget, or at least the things that they fake or pretend that they're going to give us, we're never going to get those things if you can't figure out how to find some type of middle ground on these hyperbolic social issues that are ultimately leading the reason why people are voting for the left. And it's going to be our downfall if we don't understand how to market to these people and understand that these things are important to them. We don't have to agree with them. Because in any battle, in any war, especially one as important as the one that we're in for the future of America, the future generations, etc., to have people that are willing to, throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, pun intended, I guess, and vote based on a small collection of social issues and against their own interests fiscally, economically, financially, inflation, money printing, foreign wars, etc. It's like if somebody will choose what they're referring to as women's rights or whatever, if they'll choose that and then completely shoot themselves in the foot against all of their other interests, they obviously feel so passionately about this one issue that they're not going to budge. So we can try to beat them over the head with the morality argument the same way that they do with us, but a lot of their positions are not going to change unless the conservative right finds a way to find some middle ground and communicate that we understand that that's important and that we're going to let off on that. We will get some of the things that we actually need and ultimately could save America if people will just wake up to it. And aside from all that and all of the other things that are so glaring and obvious, is that people need to understand that whether you want to make fun of them or not, Gen Z is becoming an absolutely massive voter bloc that has every objective reason to believe that they've been bamboozled, much like millennials feel. We just kind of realize that it's a little bit more attributed to the game than it is necessarily to individuals, and that we need to figure out how to fix the structure instead of just complain about it. Their solution, or at least the only power that they do have, is to go out and scream against these legislators who they blame for all their problems. But nonetheless, whether they are right or wrong, they're going to represent a huge voting bloc. And if we can't figure out how to at the very least be cool, then you're never going to attract those people. So social issues aside, the right, conservatism, it's not sexy. It's not cool. You have to be mature to understand it. So we could either bang our head against the wall and say, oh, they just don't get it. Or we can figure out a way to make it cool so that they understand, so that they come over ultimately to our side.